All right, we will start. It's 12:29 according to my computer clock, though my watch shows it's already 12:31. So we'll go ahead and call the Board of Trustees regularly scheduled meeting for Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 to order. Will the secretary please call roll?
Chief Justice Warren.
On the ground.
Where?
I am present. And Tina, can you mute, Tina?
We have Macy's.
Sure.
Layton,
Right
Beverly.
onto North Scottsdale Road.
All right, we can proceed. I'm
Presiding,
present. You can continue with the roll.
Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarena III.
You're
Presiding
coming
Judge,
in very soft, Kathy. I think you're gonna have to speak up.
Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarena III.
Present.
Trustee Donna Muñoz Canata.
I'm here coming in from Glendale, Arizona. What does it say? This
Dr. Christiana Whitman.
I don't see Christiana on the line right now.
Guam Bar President Jackie T. Terlahi.
Present.
So 4 of the 5 trustees are present and we do have a quorum. The first notice of the meeting was published in the PDN on the 18th and the 21st. And so the first order is the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of March 28, 2023. Can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes subject to correction?
Move to
Motion.
approve subject to correction.
All right, it's been moved by the presiding judge. Second.
I second it, sir.
All right, trustee Kanata has seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 There being no objection, the minutes are approved. We'll now go under old business and get a financial status update on the allotment releases. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Before I start, can you all hear me?
Barely, your audio is really not as good today. I don't know the volume.
Okay, I'll try to yell as best as I can. Good afternoon, board members. To start off, I will be reporting on the PDSC and APD. We have received our first April allotment release on April 12th. And PDSC and APD are both at 94%. We anticipate another release this week as they release their allotments every pay period. Number 2, for the JAG Access to Council grants expenditures as of March 2023 is at 20,000, leaving the encumbered and unexpended balance as of today at 5,800. The invoice for the second quarter for expense reimbursements up to the end of March has been submitted. We have not received any response as far as the drawdown is concerned. We will be contacting them on a regular basis to make sure that we do get the drawdown. For the TAC and others, for STOP and ICJR, at present, there are 3 funding sources for the domestic violence program. We are presently using the funding from what we call STOP 2021 of 20,600, which is projected to be exhausted by June of this year, 2023. Thereafter, the funds from the ICJR grant balance, which as of March 31st, remains at 111,000. It is anticipated that the balance may not be expended by the expiration date of September 2023, so an extension request to expire in September 2024 has been submitted. We are still waiting for a response from the governor's office. The third funding from STOP 2020 was supplemented with additional funds by GCO FPO, that's the governor's office, for travel and training summit scheduled this month in Hawaii. However, Through the advice of GCO FPO, the funds were rerouted for use for the training summit in Texas in May. Arrangements for travel and registrations for the summit have been made, and the funds from this grant should be exhausted by the end of May 2023. For the Elder Justice Center, for fiscal year 2023, as of today, we have received full payments invoiced for October to December and a partial payment for January. We have been in touch with the Department of Public Health for the Division of Senior Citizens, and we are regularly being updated as far as the reimbursements are concerned. And that would be all for the financial status of PDSC, APD, and the EJC. If there are any questions, I'm available to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Mike? I mean, it's good that the allotments are coming in at 94%. And there's not a delay. I did have one question about the extension of the one-stop grant you mentioned that you're looking for. I mean, generally those requests for extension have been approved, but do we have a backup plan in the event that it is not approved and the funds have to be expended before the end of the grant period?
With our communication with the governor's office, the reason we submitted a request was because they said they will be pushing for it. To answer your question as far as a backup, no, we do not at this point.
I mean, I think we should be prepared in the event that the request and have a time frame and I just don't want any of those funds to lapse or expire if we're not able to get the extension.
Understood. I will contact the governor's office and get an update on this.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for Mike? All right, well then, there being none, we'll now go to the next item. Also, let the record reflect that Christiana Whitman has joined us. The report from the PDSC Executive Director. Steve?
Okay, good afternoon, Chief Justice and board members. I'll make it really brief. I know we have bigger fish to fry with our budget requests coming on later. Just keeping you up to date with the Sixth Amendment Center. They've they've done an incredible job interviewing our staff. I'm hoping they're reaching out to the board members. I don't know if they've reached you guys already,
I've been interviewed and actually will be meeting them again.
Okay, great. And they're hoping to, come out to Guam. We're also trying to set up a defense oriented training later on in the year. We're developing a partnership with the federal public defenders, but they decided to pull out for some reason. But we do have 2 speakers, and if we can coordinate it with when the Sixth Amendment Center comes out, we might be able to use one of their attorneys who was also a former investigator. She's agreed to help provide some training as well. So that's something we're hoping will happen in October. As far as what else we're working on, I know that we are working on our income guidelines that'll come up in new business. And we're just, trying to stop the bleeding. We did testify to the legislature a couple weeks back regarding pay parity for our attorneys. We'd like to thank the Chief Justice for showing up, and also the Guam Bar President also showing up to support it. Unfortunately, it's starting to, happen. We're losing Gloria Rudolph to prosecution, so she'll be getting a nice pay bump, but we're gonna lose her. We're definitely gonna miss her. So we're actively recruiting as well. It's just not a very good time to recruit attorneys.
Who did you lose, Steve? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Gloria Rudolph, her last day's Friday.
Oh, okay,
A prosecution.
okay.
And so, I think it's gonna, there's a lot of pressure being applied to, people are poaching our attorneys because they have, some amount of trial experience, and I'm sure the attorney generals will keep trying to poach more of our attorneys. And so, we're staying on top of that bill. We're hoping it'll get heard in May. It hasn't been reported out of the Rules Committee yet.
Yeah, we have also experienced, this year especially, a significant drop in the number of applications that we've seen for research attorneys and law clerks compared to prior years. And obviously pay is one of those factors that's coming into consideration. And of course, with the GPP and law enforcement pay increases the last couple of years, we're developing situations where attorneys with, obviously advanced degrees and in many cases significant law school debt are, butting up to what other clerks and non-advanced degrees, non-lawyer pay is coming. So there's clearly not the internal equity or external competitiveness that was contemplated by is mandated by the law. And so we're hoping that the legislature examines that more carefully when it comes time to report that bill out of the committee and forward it. Is there anything else, Steve?
Oh, no. Thank you, Chief Justice, for the time.
Any questions from Steve? If not, we'll Annie for APD's report.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. Just like to thank Trustee Terlahi for testifying. And I know Chief Justice Torres, you did submit a letter to the legislature regarding the pay parity, and thank you for that. I read the letter. It was a very good letter. But I think it really opened the eyes of some of the senators when Trustee Terlahi was talking and was able to get more information from Mrs. Terlahi regarding the whole bar in general. So thank you for that. As far as I know, in the last board meeting, we had I said we would submit our stats. I have them. I didn't put them in the packet because we were busy with the budget, and we do have the budget. So I could report on our stats, but I think it might be better to just do it in May when the public defender puts their stats in together and we can both do it at the same time, unless you want me to go ahead and report on that.
I think we can defer and review the stats at the next meeting, so we have sufficient time to go through the both budgets as we move along. So unless anyone has any objection, we'll take your recommendation to defer that. All right, anyone have any questions for Annie? All right,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Carol for the Civil Law Center.
Yes, Your Honor. So we provided stats as we usually do, and you can see that the numbers have gone up on the services we provide. We're gonna break down the stats a little more so that there's a better picture as to the amount of intake that's coming in, as well as what we have to decline and refer elsewhere, because those are services that we don't provide currently. That's one of the ways that we can assess what the needs of each population is. I also share the same sentiments as Annie and Steve, and I thank everyone who supported the bill that would help adjust pay. If there's any questions, do ask, but we are working on trying to do a better needs assessment within each of those populations that we serve, so we can see what services are needed for both these populations. But I think you can see some of the numbers under received requests. Those are the clients that came in, but we weren't able to assist because we are not currently doing those services.
All right, are there any questions for Carol? All right, if there are no questions, we'll now go to the next item, which is the budget. And who's going to make the presentation?
Well, Your Honor, I'm closer to, I hope you can hear me a little better.
Yeah, actually, we could hear you when they came in and we could hear Mike when they increased the volume. So we were able to do that. We can't see you now, but we can hear you.
Let me, I'm sorry, Bob. Let me try again if I went here. Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yeah, I mean, you're coming in fine. When they increased the volume on that end, it was much better.
Okay, so we'll start with our presentation. For FY 2024. We're going to share screens. Just give us a second. Okay, slide. So today we're going to talk about our budget comparisons from FY 2023 to 2024, our request for personal operations, and then we'll also talk about the line item budget for our request, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers next. See if we can get a full screen. So here we provide a comparison of what we've asked for in the past from 2021 to 2024. And you could see the change in our budgets for each fiscal year. So for FY 2023, we asked for 6,137,810 was a difference from the FY 22 budget of 659, a 10% increase. And then in FY 2024, we're asking for 6.7 million. Next. So with the budget, what we provided here in this slide is what we were actually authorized in each fiscal year. So in FY 2023, we were authorized 6.4, and in FY 2024, we're asking for 6.7. Next. Here we have a comparison of our budget compared to the general fund projected revenues. And for FY 2024, the governor's office is anticipating a $6.7 million increase in revenue. And we show, or I'm sorry, $778 million projected revenue from the general fund. And our budget is 6.7 million, which is not even 1% of the entire revenue projected by the administration. Next. Here we show what our budget is in terms of personnel and operations. You'll see a bulk of our budget is in personnel. So we have 88% of our budget in personnel cost and 12% in operations. Next. Here you see the where our breakdown is for personnel. In FY 2024, salaries, increments, and pay at 4.2, benefits 1.3, insurance 367 for a total, a grand total in our request at 5.9 million and 10% personnel costs. Next. So what we did was we demonstrated organic growth. I know that we're using FY 2022 and FY 2023 figures, but if we added, we used an investigator too, and the organic growth of what we anticipate for retirement, Medicare, medical premiums, and dental. We came up with a figure of 4,815. We have 64 employees. So next slide, please. That would be what we would anticipate for our organic growth for FY 2024. Next. Then we have.
Hang on one second, going back, when you're looking at the organic growth, go back to the investigator too. And does the amount that is include the 22% that was already authorized?
Yes, yes, it will as we move on. It does include, this is just what the benefit.
I mean, not that this is a law enforcement position, right? Investigator too?
Yeah, correct.
So does the 42 salary that's reflected here reflect the 18% total increase, the additional 10?
No, we didn't include that.
Yeah, but that should be included because that is organic growth, really. I mean,
We
if,
do it, we do in a
because
later
it's already
slide, Your
been
Honor.
approved.
Yeah, Your Honor, we do that in a later slide.
Okay,
Okay, next. So that is the total for organic growth. Next slide, please. And then what we did was we did a comparison in terms of a 15% increase, which we did include in our budget for the attorneys for FY 2024. You would see off to the left various agencies. I didn't do all five, and I just made it comparable to what is happening on Guam. You see a Port Authority 4 attorney, salary alone is 141. And then you see our attorney fives, we have 3 of them. And we took a couple of their pays, one's at 141 and one's at 124. If we did the 15% increase, it would bring one of the attorneys with a lot of experience closer to the Port Authority. And then both of them have a lot of experience, but it would get us closer to the Port Authority. And then we took a staff attorney at GPA at 135. We took a couple of our attorney 4s, and these are more senior attorneys. They're at 132 or 124. If we did the 15% increase, it's off to the right. You'll see the increase. For a staff attorney at GWA, that's 127. They're, a little less than what, they're making a little more than what we are paying our attorney 4s. GMH attorney, that's at 94. Again, maybe that would be equivalent to an attorney 3 at 98. Then we have the Port Attorney, and that was an attorney 3 making 119. Our attorney 3s are making 75, and with the 15%, it's only 87,000, about that amount for our attorneys off to the right. And then the Port Attorney 2, I'm sorry, I left the name, but that's about, you can cover that, Ken. That's about 85,000. Our attorney 2s are making 62. And with the 15% increase, they'll still be making less than an attorney at Port Authority of Guam. Next slide. So with the salary adjustment, with the 15% plus the law enforcement pay and the GPP pay, we're looking for FY 2024, 4.3 million, in benefits 1.2, merit bonuses 77,000, organic growth 312, at a total cost of 5.9 million for our entire team of 64. Next. Now we'll have operations. We're talking operations. I've actually given you guys the footnotes and the details of each of the line items for operations. We'll go through that with the actual sheets that we gave you, but you would see that contractual, there's a 97% increase, office rent 13%, supplies at 20%, what is it? Equipment at 84%, but at 30,000, it's a 30,000 increase. Drug testing, that shows 112, but we're looking at as we lose more attorneys to the AG's office, we'll have to do a lot more drug testing if we don't give them the 15% soon. And then miscellaneous expenses, we're looking at a 32% increase. Next slide. So
before you move, can you go back to the one slide? It's better to ask the questions that I have while we're going through it. When I was looking at the contractual services, I saw that there was as you pointed out, a 97% increase, 155,858. But when I looked at the Schedule B that supported that, there was only one item that was not funded in fiscal year 2023, and that was the vehicle leases. So I'm trying to understand what is the increase in contractual services over the prior year that led to a 97% increase.
Your Honor, our largest expense for FY 2024 is our Abacus license. That's our case management system. And so you're seeing if you turn to
that's the 55 licenses at $75,000.
Correct. That's a bulk of, and so what that, that's a sticker shock.
What are we paying now?
What are we paying now?
Yeah, because what this doesn't show is the increase. You're showing a $150,000 increase in contractual services, but
So,
it's not clear to me.
yeah, Your Honor,
what-
right now, we're paying about 33,000 for Abacus license, but what's happening is we're transitioning to the cloud. So we've had in the past where our servers have crashed. And so we'd have to rebuild our CMS. And so rather than us try to figure out how to rebuild, we would like to, for FY 2024, move to the cloud so that if we ever got hacked, which we've had that happen to us as well, servers crashed. So that's the substantial increase, is moving to the cloud for Abacus, our CMS.
Yeah, I saw in the equipment, the virtual server as well. So you're saying, out of the $155,000 that was increased from fiscal year 23, about 50,000 or 40,000 is for the Abacus licenses. What else constitutes the other, though?
The malpractice.
And our malpractice
And then
insurance
the Westlaw.
and Westlaw. Those are big bulk items.
But I mean, they increased, because I'm only looking at what you're showing as the increase, Kathy.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
we show an increase of 155,000, and we don't show what the increases are for each contractual item, right?
Yes. So
So you said Abacus was one of them. Last year was 435. This year it's 75.
correct.
And then
Sorry.
What was the difference between that?
Westlaw, I thought, was the malpractice insurance is it shown in a different area, right? It's shown under, or here, the malpractice insurance is $9,000.
96.
What was it last year?
Michael, do you have it?
I know I don't have that information.
Your Honor, I
I'm
think,
just trying to understand the
not substantially,
$157,000 difference.
yeah. So I think we're paying about it's about 3,000 difference in what we're paying now. But Westlaw, I know that's a significant, we're paying about 35. So that's another 12,000 for an increase. And then we also, if you look at the where communications platforms, Wi-Fi devices, we've increased that significantly. We have now access to council. We're at DOC, Hagåtña Detention Center, and DYA. So what we're doing is we're paying for the cost to have that Wi-Fi. The grant's covering it this fiscal year, but next fiscal year we're including that in our expenses, because we know that our partners they can't absorb the cost for us to allow our clients to have access to our attorneys. So we're probably paying a bulk of that, maybe about $10,000 for increase in FY 2024. So
Automobile lease also.
and then the automobile piece.
It still doesn't, I still don't see how all of those amounts add up to $155,000 increase. Now, it's possible, I guess, because the actual expenditure from the general fund in fiscal year 2022 was 234, but then you say that your authorized amount was only 161. And so
That's
you're
correct.
looking at if you look at the increase from the actual expenditure over authorization, then it's only about a $70,000 or $80,000 increase.
You're correct, Your Honor. That is correct. We'll have, we'll
Did
have
we
that.
Have the 2022, or actually it's the 2023 budget. We don't
We
have that immediately available to us that can provide us the same schedule for that particular time period.
We don't have it with us right now, but when we prepare our budget to turn in, we do make those comparisons.
I mean, I think it's especially when you have, these large percentage increases, it's good to understand what what they are. I mean, I think if you're looking at what was actually expended in 22 versus what was authorized, you know, there's about a $70,000 difference there. And I don't understand what that difference was for. And then when you look at I think you've explained at least part of the difference between the expenditure in 22 and the expenditure and the request in 24, with the increase in the malpractice insurance, the increase in Westlaw, the increase in the abacus licensing fees going. And you know, that may, when you add it all up, come to the $70,000 increase, but I just needed to understand that. And then you know, I think we should also try to understand why it went from 160 authorized to 234 expended.
Okay, Your Honor. We'll get that for the board. We don't have that available right now, right?
No.
No.
Well, surprise, surprise, since I'm at my computer, I was able to pull up last year's board packet because I'm so efficient like that.
I wasn't on the board last year, so I can't pull up my packet. Next year I
Cheater,
can.
cheater, right? I could forward that to you if you like, so that way you can share screen it. Kathy, should I send it to you?
Send it to Ken Lim. He's also in our K Lim at Guam
Okay.
PDSC.
Yeah,
Hey, Lim.
I actually have our budget schedule up if you want me to share screen and
Yes.
Yeah, Steve.
Okay,
Okay.
if Steve's got it. But yeah, I see that it was sent on April 26th, or it's dated April 26th, but I do see some discrepancies in the amounts that could account for it. I mean, for example, like your vehicle, you go from vehicle insurance of 5,000, which was previously at 2,000. You see, so if everything is going up by even a 20% margin, then, and you account for the huge jump in abacus, perhaps, but I think it would be good if we had them side by side if possible.
Correct. We'll have that. We will have that available. And we'll send that out to the board.
All right, you can continue, Kathy.
Okay, so our biggest increases, as I explained, is for our CMS, Westlaw, insurance, and then a vehicle lease. We're looking at leasing we've purchased our 2 cars that we have now. We're understanding from our different divisions that they would also like to have a truck, so that the investigative section of our office would like to rent a truck. What normally happens is we rent and then we purchase after we're done with the rental agreement. So we're looking at renting a truck so that when investigations goes out to the field, they're not using the cars. They think it would be better. So we're looking at a rental of a car. So that's also included in our budget. So we're looking for, in terms of operations, we're looking at a $245,723 increase in operations for FY 2024. Next, please. So the needed increase for operations is $245,723 next. And the total increase in for personnel and operations, we're looking at $776,218, a 13% increase. Next. And so as I explained earlier, that's just less than 1%. It's 0.0087% of the general fund. It's not appropriations, but the general fund revenues expected. So I'm open next. If there are any questions that the board may have.
All right, yeah, I want to go back to this, to the organic growth, Kathy,
Okay, sure.
if you can.
Do you know that's fine? It's up there. One more. It's with the investigations. That comparison. Keep going.
So where. All right. I don't know okay. You're going through and you're trying to show the organic growth, showing the increase in salary, the amount of retirement benefits, and the medical and dental premiums projected increases, and then come up with a total for a sample employee, right?
Correct.
And then you go to the next page,
Next.
and you're just multiplying the number of personnel by the calculation
Correct.
there. But that's really very somewhat imprecise.
Correct.
Yeah, because for a number of reasons. First of all, if you go back to the chart at there, I think that we should show, and this was, first of all, it's going from 22 to 23. It should be from 23 to 24, right?
Correct.
Because we're talking about the fiscal year 24 numbers. And we should include the full amount that the investigator is going to receive for his salary after the increment that's owed. I mean, after the adjustment to the pay that's owed. So the number is actually for this investigator, for example, if you have not included that, it should be included there, because we're mandated by law in light of the GPP, or we're mandated by law to pay the law enforcement personnel the 18% that they were entitled to. And so the amount should be higher, and all of the benefits that go across will likewise be higher. And similarly, the amounts that would come in for, all of the employees, and we should be able to understand it on an employee, because the increase in salary is going to be different, for all of the various employees. And I think we should come up with a schedule that shows the total amounts for our personnel, and not just take one person, because he's not necessarily accurate for all of them. And we showed a fiscal year 24 budget employee total of 64, but if you go to the next page, we do 65. And so, when we're looking at explaining organic growth, it really is, growth and expenses that we're required to incur as a result of the current state of the law. And so all of that, so to me, it seems like that number should be higher. And I don't know that I don't know what the importance, if you go to the next slide, go back to where you were trying to show the total budget amount. So this we already explained. If you go to the next one. No, the next one after this, where you had the summary here. What I would show is, for example, here, personnel costs, all of the salary and the pay adjustments that are required by law, then show the 15% for the attorneys separately. And then, because I think your organic growth, you can explain the number on the top as what's attributable to organic growth, but that's really not a separate increase that we're showing about. It should be included in the total salary and pay adjustments that we're showing already, the amounts that are going to be paid for fiscal year 2024. And we can explain that it's this much more than it was prior year because of organic growth. But it really, the number that's shown here in organic growth should come up on top, and only the attorneys should be a separate adjustment for an increase that we're asking for, because this in some ways suggests that we're asking for an increase over our salary and pay adjustments of $312,000, but we're really not. Our salary and pay adjustments that we're mandated to pay is 4.6, for example, if you add the organic growth to that.
Okay,
I don't know how you did it before, but I mean, that's how I view organic growth is to provide an explanation for why the amount went up when you're just, it's basically because of what's required by the law. And it's not a new request.
okay, we'll make that adjustment, Your Honor.
And I would break out the attorney
Hey,
pay as a separate amount, not included in the total amount now, because it has not yet been approved, right?
okay. That's correct. We'll go ahead and make those adjustments.
Mike, you don't have a breakdown of the total salary and pay for the employees for fiscal year 2024?
That would be part of the budget under the staffing pattern.
Yeah, I mean, do you have that number?
Oh, not with me right here, no.
I mean, that's what we need to approve. Right? And then plus, that's what we need to approve, is that plus the benefits attributable to them. And then the merit bonuses, and then the adjustments for the attorney, subject to, the passage of the bill and appropriation.
Yes, the numbers are all on the staffing pattern for the current and the proposed.
Yeah,
Do you have that?
yeah. Let me just, can, yeah. Look for budget. If you look at, where he was at, right? And then go to legal.
And that will just be the personnel costs.
Yes.
Obviously, I think we need to try to figure out that number. Steve, can you tell me, when does the budget have to be approved and submitted?
April,
Thursday,
this Thursday?
yeah.
Okay. I know they granted us an extension, but
I just want to make sure we're approving, a budget that takes into consideration all of the salaries that are required to be paid by the law and the benefits that are required to be paid by the law for all the employees. And I don't think taking one employee and extrapolating the increased benefits for that one employee and the salary for that one employee and multiplying it by 65 or 64 employees is a proper way to ascertain the total amount that might be incurred for.
I'm gonna compare the current with the-
We should base the total on the staffing pattern after the increases. I
No.
just don't want to be surprised if our request fails to meet the require, what we were mandated to provide.
Compare the current.
Okay, so I'll go back up to proposed. Your Honor, here we have the staffing pattern for the proposed.
also it has the increments here.
And this is the staffing pattern after taking into consideration all of the raises,
Correct.
And
but
then
it also includes the attorney raises in the staffing pattern, or does not?
Yes, it
It
does.
does.
It does.
Yeah,
And look at.
so
the-
you'll have to back that number out.
Okay, we'll do that. And then here's.
I mean, we can make the request, but we have to show it as, it can be included in the total request since it is a request. So we don't need to, we can make that request. So what is the total of that amount?
For the attorneys?
No, for everybody, for all of the employees
the current.
based on
5 point-
salaries, because how you've shown it is you've broken it down, salaries, benefits, and then merit bonuses. So
Yeah.
for salaries alone, what is your total amount showing for the fiscal year 2024 based on the staffing pattern?
So go to propose.
This is-
They said.
this is
That
proposed,
includes
yeah.
the merit bonus already.
So it's 5.9.
No, just the salary.
4.2 for salary alone, Your Honor.
No, 4.2 is the salary plus the bonus.
Yeah, plus a bonus.
So it's 4.2 for the salary?
Just the salary alone, correct?
Okay.
It's on the screen, and then for the increments, it's 4.3.
Okay. Well, the increment's part of the salary already.
Correct.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
already.
so it should be added in because it's the total amount is already gonna be owed for them. So that's part of their base salary.
Yes. And then you
All right.
have it.
So it's
So-
4.2 plus 1 point what?
No.
That's the retirement.
Of the retirement, it's 4.2 for salaries, but with the increments and for the salaries, it's 38,000 for the increments, and we're looking at 4.3 with the increments.
And this is increments, increments based on one's normal increment schedule, not,
Correct.
but the salary amount already factors in the 22% and the 10%.
Yes,
Correct.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so 4.2 for salaries, 38 or 40,000, roughly 38,000 for the increments. And then what about the benefits?
The benefits, we're looking at 1.6 for a total of 5.9.
I'm sorry, Kathy, I missed that.
The benefits, we're looking at 1.66251.
Okay,
For-
1.6, okay.
Yeah, and then a total of 5.9.
All right. So can we go back to the chart that you had that showed, grab that number, 5.9,
Yes.
and go back to the summary that you had?
That's a summary.
The summary, yeah, this is the summary.
That's the
This is a summary, Your Honor.
Okay, so this is the total salary and pay adjustments of 5.9,
Yes.
basically, that you're looking at. So
Yes,
it
Your
did include, it included because we had 4.2 in there, but you had 1.6 for benefits, Kathy. Here you have 1.2 for benefits.
Okay, we're going to correct that, Your Honor.
And then you had merit bonuses of 77, but we didn't
What
have
we-
merit bonuses on that other chart, and we only had 40 for increments.
Okay, so the benefits and the organic growth comes up to 1.6. And here we split it out. We don't have that in the schedule that we showed you.
Okay. Well, but inorganic growth included a salary increase. If you go back and look at how you calculated that.
Yes,
There
yes,
was a
you're right.
$1,000 salary increase, so. And that's why it didn't seem that it's right, but I think we should rely on the staffing pattern.
We
Rather
will,
than,
yeah, we'll do that, Your Honor.
rather than these numbers.
Yes, correct. So.
And then Mike, I think you have to go back and run those numbers and show the total amount of the salaries, then total amount of benefits, and do it that way.
Understood.
All right, but it appears based on the staffing pattern, the total amount that's needed for personnel services is 5.9. Or can you just, I can't really see, it's a little, just blow that up so we can see the total amount. So when someone makes the motion to approve the budget, it's based on this number.
Sir, do you want us to make a motion now or wait till they?
No, I
correct the
think we'll
figures.
wait until we're done. I mean, with the entire budget. I just want to make sure everything's there. I mean, this is just the amount for personnel services, and they're still going through. So you can go ahead, Kathy, and continue, and then let's
Okay.
just wrap up this budget because we still have to go through APD's budget. And I'm sorry I had so many questions. It's the first time I've been back involved with a budget process with PDs, in over 6 years. So
Okay, Your Honor, this is what we're asking for, and we're done with our presentation. We're asking for 5.9 for personnel and 802 for operations.
does anyone have any questions for Kathy about the budget?
I just, one request, Mr. Chairman. When they make those adjustments, can they give copies to the board members?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Okay, Your Honor.
I do have, I guess, a couple of questions. You know, I was trying to rely on my memory. And I don't remember there ever being any increments applied to Mr. Hattori, our executive director. So I was kind of concerned that we may be falling behind in terms of what we may be owing him. Has that been factored into our budget as well for 2024?
Attorney Terlahi, we have not factored that in. So he will get the 15% like all other attorneys, but I believe you're right. He's due an increment. He's been due an increment. I don't think Executive Director Hattori has gotten a raise in 7 years. So we did do the 6% when we did it for the entire team. And we hope to do that when we increase the attorney pay by 15%, but he's still, I think, in my opinion, lags behind some of our attorney fives.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I was trying to remember the last time we did any increments for him, and in the discussion of organic growth, I thought, well, have we excluded that in terms of our organic growth as well, right? So then we're not getting a real picture of organic growth.
Yeah,
we're
you're
getting
right.
a partial picture. Okay.
Correct.
I guess another kind of bit of news that I haven't broken to everybody yet is that the Guam Bar Association has approved, at least the Board of Governors has approved an annual dues increase. Chief Justice, I'm supposed to be issuing that letter. I did allude to it in our meeting. At the last our annual meeting was just held this past Friday, so that formal letter is going to be sitting on the chief's desk soon. But the Board of Governors has approved an increase for our active membership from 300 to 450. So, you know, because we're in the budget phase, I thought it's a good idea to tell you that, so that any adjustment to anticipate it, that there may be an approval of it. If there is an approval, that's something that we've got to accommodate as well. And then, okay, just because I'm sitting here, if you go to the chat, if you can share the little chart on the chat that I posted. I've taken our 2023 and 2024 numbers for the contractual services, going back to the contractual services request. And the numbers just don't add up. So I guess before we can say yay or nay to approving any budget, kind of, I think I need to get a better idea of why it is that we've got such a discrepancy in numbers. So I took exactly the amounts that were reported in the 2023 budget packet that was provided to us and just inputted it on a little spreadsheet, and took the numbers that you gave us today, and the numbers aren't coinciding. So as you see, right, there's this huge discrepancy. One of the discrepancies is that in 2023, we were asking for a contract attorney, and that artificially inflated the contractual services, right? But that amount has been since removed. So we need some cleaning up to understand where that 97% growth comes from, because I'm not seeing it at all. I'm not seeing a 97% growth is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, we'll work on, but the 2023 column that you do have, that's just what we were requesting for in FY 2023. Those aren't actual expenditures that that we're going through right now, and it's what, So our FY 2022 expenditures are a true reflection of what is a better projection of what is. It would be closer to what we would, rather than the FY 2023 wish list that we send out to the board. So So those are the numbers. And what we did with the contractual attorney, really that should have been an underfill from one of the attorney slots that we had, or that we had a vacancy that we currently have in our attorney staffing pattern. So that's how they're filling that position.
Yeah, but you see, right, Kathy, my point is I think the mathematics are off. Because when I plugged it into the spreadsheet, I came up with 317,000. I didn't get that artificial increase of 97% that we were referring to. So we thought the bulk of the cost came from the abacus licenses, but really it's less than a $10,000 increase, right? So that's the thing, right? You've got 75,000 in our request this year, right, for the 2024 budget. But we had previously requested, the wish list was 82,005, right? So that's why I'm saying I'm relying on the packet. So this is kind of the analysis that I'm telling you we need to see, because if you look also here, we have two backup services. We have one for 6,000, and then we have another one for 6,075. Is there a reason why those two backup services are separated?
One we have two servers, right? You see the 6,000,
Oh, yeah.
number 18.
One is GTA, the other one.
Yeah, we have two, we do have two backup services. One we have with GTA and the other one we have with Docomo. The 82,000 that we requested for Abacus, we didn't procure that for this fiscal year because of the reduction in the amount that we actually received from the legislature. So we had to readjust the FY 2023 numbers based on what we actually were authorized by the legislature. So we, being that our number that was authorized is far less than what we're hoping to receive, those numbers, now we're going back in again in FY 2024. So if they reduce our FY 2024 operations, for example, Abacus, if they reduce operation, they just give us a lump sum, then we're not going to go in the cloud. Although we want to go on the cloud, it ain't going to happen. It didn't happen this fiscal year. And if we don't get what we asked for FY 2024, it's not going to happen in 2024. We're just going to rely on the servers that we do have with Docomo and GTA.
Kathy,
Okay.
I see that as you know, Jackie pointed out, I guess she's listed the 2023 and it was 254,205 on the actual that was the request made, I presume, in
Correct,
2023.
correct.
And then the actual expenditure in 2020, well, we don't have the actual expenditure in 2023. Is what we don't have, because what you're showing here is what was expended in 2022 on this year's budget, not 23's. And what was authorized in 23 was only 161.
Correct.
But what about the fiscal year 2023 expenditure?
Year to date, what would you say we have?
Well, I mean, you know, just in terms of, I mean, obviously it's only a partial year, but just in terms of tracking what you'll track versus what you were what you spent in 2022, because 22 has a full year, but obviously you've got contractual services and other things that you know what you're going to spend or can predict what you're going to spend in 23. Is it going to match what was requested, the 254? Or is it going to be less? I mean, obviously only 160 was authorized. So how much what do we think? So you're saying, well, last year we asked for, as Jackie pointed out, 82,000 in abacus licenses, but since it wasn't authorized, we went back down to 30,000. So there's 60,000 that we didn't get. So maybe
Correct.
That's the whole difference that's there.
Mhm.
And we're only spending what was authorized and not.
Yeah.
But yet, if that's the case, what did we expend in 2022 for 234? How could it come down to only 161 in you know, that was what was authorized, but how much is really going to be spent?
Do you want to answer?
I mean, that, you know, that's what she's talking, I think, about, is trying to, you know, figure those numbers out.
Yeah. in calculating the 2022, well, that was the actual expenditure, but for 2023 or for any budget year, what we request for, we have never received the entire amount. So we did have to allocate what was needed for personnel, what was needed for operations. Therefore, we do receive a lump sum for the budget. And if the personnel is lacking, then we would have to use operations funds to fund those.
No, I understand that, Mike, but
Okay.
what we showed is we spent 234 in 22. So what are we tracking to spend in 23 for contractual services?
That
We're
I have not done
requesting
yet.
317. We were only authorized 161. So you're telling me that instead of spending 234, we're only going to expend 161 this year on
That's
contractual services?
For 2023, yes, sir.
Who stated them?
Because of the allocated, the appropriated funds. That was
And we
authorized.
shifted. So what is the expense that we got rid of?
It's all down, each line item we had to reduce by so much.
Okay.
So what we've also done in FY 2022 is we asked that the legislature, any lapse funds between us and APD, we are able to use it for the current fiscal year. So prior year lapses, we're able to use during the fiscal year that the budget is approved. So we've used lapse funds from the kitty that both APD and public defender are able to use. And I know we've used at least 300,000 of that lapse funds to make up the difference, 200,000 or 300,000, right, Mike?
Approximately.
Yeah. So whenever, all like for FY 2022, our total expenses were 599,230. We were authorized, do you remember the amount that we were authorized?
So,
Not 100.
Yeah, we're just looking at the contractual services now.
Okay, contractual
We-
services.
We expended 234 and 22, authorized 161. And then we're saying we're making a 97% increase over what was authorized last year,
Correct.
which is more in line with what was done. And so we're asking for 317,000. The request that was made last year was 254.
Mhm,
But we didn't get that entire amount.
correct.
And so if we use lapses to cover some of the amounts that we did not get, where are we going to be in terms of the total projection for 2023? Because we're sort of, I mean, it's not an accurate increase to look at a 97% increase over what was authorized versus what was the request. If the actual expenditure is really more along the lines of 200 something is, you know, I mean, that's what because I just don't see in the contractual services where we're reducing the amount that was expended, for example, from 2022. What did we reduce to get to 165?
Wasn't it? We include.
Yeah. Anyways, we're not going to be able to resolve that now. I think we just got to do a better job of trying to, just explain the differences with it. Overall, this is just it's not a significant amount for the total budget that's there, that's being requested. But I just think that we need to, when we look at the total numbers, be able to compare the actual expenditures with the requested expenditures. And I know you tried to do that for 2022, but even in terms of, what the expected expenditures are going to be for 23, because if our appropriation was a lot less, then, we either had to cut or use lapses, and it sounds like we use the lapses to make up that expenditure And because these were contractual services, we were obligated to pay. The only thing maybe we didn't do was migrate to the cloud, but we still, even without migration, spent 235,000 in 22. So I
Correct.
presume it's gonna be comparable for 23.
You're right, Your Honor.
Yeah, so, anyways, also Jackie pointed out, the Guam bar dues increase, so if you're talking a $300 to $450 increase, how many attorneys do you have?
17, no, not 19. 19.
You're including APD?
No, EJC, CLC. 17.
All right, so that's roughly a $2,500, $2,550 to be exact, increase in the dues that are there. So for operational and capital outlay costs, as you pointed out, you had a request of $245,000 in total, from an is that the total that you're looking for?
Yes, Your
What
Honor.
is the total that you're looking for in other than personnel?
Operations, we're looking at 802. 802, 739. Can you go back to that
Yes.
slide? Yeah. Just a slide. it'll show
All
you.
right. So can you make then, okay, is there can you go through the rest of the budget and then just give us a total number?
If you went back to the slide.
slide?
Yeah, just a slide. Just that. slide.
And Kathy, I think next year we've got to try to get the budget to us at least a week in advance, if not more, including the slides. It'll be easier for us to go through and provide feedback.
No, the
Um,
slide has it. So we're looking at a total of 6,797 for FY 2024. 802, 739 for operations and 5.9 for personnel.
All right, we already understood the total amount for the personnel services and tied it back into the staffing pattern. For fiscal year 24, you're looking at 317 for contractual services, 309 for the rent, which hasn't, which has gone up a little bit, I guess.
Correct.
Supplies and materials, a small increase of 41. And then equipment is 66,000 versus 36, and you pointed out that I guess that was attributable to the vehicle leases. So you're looking at an amount of 802 versus what was authorized last year was only 557 because you didn't get the total authorization that you wanted.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right, is there any questions for Kathy or any follow-up items?
Just to follow up, can she provide a report on the adjustments made on the contracts and supplies to the board?
Will do, Your Honor.
Okay. So is anyone prepared to make a motion on the budget?
Move to accept the budget.
Second, sir.
Okay, there's a motion to accept the budget as proposed with the, I guess, the adjustments that were going to be made in terms of how the presentation is made. Are we ready for a vote?
Mr. Chairman, with the inclusion of the bar membership increase as proposed by the Guam Bar Association, because
Okay,
that was not included in the presentation.
Yeah, and with the, I guess with the adjustments in terms of how the amounts are gonna be reflected based on the staffing pattern that was there.
Okay, I'll add that as well, Mr. Chairman.
Does it have to be seconded with the corrections?
Yeah, it has to be
So
seconded.
second it with the corrections, sir.
All right, it's been moved and seconded as adjusted and amended. Can I entertain a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Hmm.
Begrudgingly, but it is.
Begrudgingly, I know it's necessary. I
Yeah.
think it's just important that those adjustments be as accurate as we possibly can. That's my biggest concern. I don't like us presenting to the legislature an amount that, shows a 97% increase. It's just not something I think that's favored at the legislature. But with your adjustments, I think we need to approve some form of budget.
All right, so that budget has been approved, and there is a resolution that's there, and I think one of the, I don't know if Kathy has that resolution that was approving the budget, and included in that resolution was a provision that allows the chairman of the board and the executive director to finalize the documentation relative to the submission, so we can, go through and make those appropriate adjustments, so it's clear exactly, that it's not truly a 97% increase over what was done, because the expenditures is going to track it more at 200 some thousand, not at 165 authorized, just using the lapsed funds to pay that. So, and also to ensure that the amounts, not all of the what was reflected as organic growth really is that's just a number to explain the total salary increase, but it's not a separate line item that gets added to a base salary. So we'll make those changes, and that resolution that's put forth is approved. Okay, thank you. Annie, are you ready to do your budget? I hope you're ready. Sorry.
There we go. Hi, Your Honor. Thank you, and I apologize. We did put a revised budget request to the board, and we apologize. We understand that it's hard doing this so quickly, but we were under, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen right away. I apologize. But anyway, in our budget request, if you go down, it might be easier to go to the budget digest summary with the footnotes, and I show this is on the page 1 of 2, Ken. Yeah, there we go. We did account for the bar dues. I asked actually on Friday when Jackie announced at our bar meeting that we would have the rates raised, and now they're going to be due December 31st and not the next fiscal year. So I put that in our budget, and we'll spell miscellaneous correct. That was misspelled, but we did account for that. So that's our increase for fiscal year 2024 over 2023 authorized level is 308,840. But that's the only increase we have. It's just that 1%.
What is that? What is the total? What is the total budget that you're looking to have approved? So the increase is only is what are you saying is
the operational increase is only 1%. The other increase, we are asking for 1.74758580. We actually propose, if you go back, okay, now can we go to the first page, Ken? There we go. Other one. First page. Where it has the money, the combined digest there. Yeah, there we go. Right here, this one. So the bottom line right there, 1.747580 is what we're requesting.
All right, and that's based, and you're just pointing out it's a 377,940 increase over the prior fiscal year because of the salary increments, right?
Correct.
That were mandated by law. Although I
Well-
note that,
Oh, I apologize. I was going to say, in our staffing pattern, for the law enforcement pay as well as the general pay
Okay, ma'am.
for the other employees, that's already taken in, that's already in the staffing pattern. What we did do for the attorneys, we called it regular salary special pay, and we've already pegged it at the 15%. So that's why the 1.175 for attorneys, if you go up a little bit.
okay, all right, so you did include the total amount already based on the
Yeah.
staffing pattern for everyone else. So what you're showing is the regular salaries, increments of special pay is for the attorneys, but the description's a little off, Annie. If you go to the budget,
Uh-huh.
go to that description item for the 204,785, not here. It's I think it's in the footnote,
Okay.
right where you were on right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have the mandated increase of 7% and 6% for law enforcement respectively. That's not that number, right? That number's out.
Yes, that's true, Your Honor. I'll make that change.
Yeah, that was from last year.
Yeah, that's last year.
Yeah, that's last year's.
Yeah,
See, you still got it. You still look good you're still got it, Your Honor.
I'm
We'll take that out.
65 this year, but still I read and I look. Yeah, so
Apologize. We'll take that out.
yeah, that shouldn't be there. And then obviously so that's going to be in there. And even the benefits, really, those are already, unless this is attributable to the salary increment that we're requesting, those benefits should all be included in the personnel services that's in top. But the total amount is still 1.7. The total personnel cost is 1.4. And then how much is the operational side?
Operational, hold on. It is.
Go to the first.
Oh, no, well, it's 1.4 with the
Yeah.
for the personnel, and then the operations is 1.6 if you, well,
1.6 for personnel and 134.
34 for the operations, yeah.
operations. Yeah.
And, okay. All right, I got it. And the 1.6 includes $300,000 roughly for attorney pay if that bill passes.
Correct.
We're going to make that request to include in the budget, and then also increase benefits based on retirement, health insurance, and life insurance.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, any questions for Annie? And I think there is a separate resolution as well for the APD.
No, Your Honor, we have it all in one, and that's.
Oh,
what
you
we-
have it in one resolution. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we'll just make then the motion for this and include it in that one resolution.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the budget submitted by the alternate public defender.
Second.
All right. With those changes, again, fixing some of those corrections, technical
sir.
corrections, and with the authority for the administrator or the executive director, managing attorney, and the chairman of the board to fix the presentation.
Can we just get a copy of any changes made, Mr. Chairman, as applies also to AP?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, there was moved by presiding judge. Is there a second? Did I hear it? Did I miss the second by trustee Moon?
Yes, there was a second.
All right,
Yes.
trustee Kanata seconded. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, there being no objection, the budget is approved. All right, then the next item, I guess, is just our next meeting. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're under new business. We have the client income guidelines. Steve, you want to talk
Oh.
about that, or you just give us a quick update and then?
Yeah. So, we included the current guidelines, and what we've done is we're working on well, basically looking at the best practice, right? I mean, there's certain things that we have, like if you own a car that's worth more than $2,500, you're ineligible for an attorney, even though that car is what you need to get to work and drive your kids to school, right? So many jurisdictions are excluding vehicles, at least one vehicle per household. Many jurisdictions are excluding households where they own a home, but the bank owns 90% of it, right? And they own 10% of it. So I want to present a more detailed one. I just want to bring this up because we've been asking the magistrates to allow us to represent uh, clients who are detained. So there's a presumption of eligibility as long as you're detained. And then once we, hopefully, if we were able to get them out, then they get another, they have to go out and retain their attorney. So that kind of helps. Unfortunately, we're finding that many of them cannot find attorneys. And so we definitely need to increase the eligibility guidelines, and many places are now using a living wage calculator. And on Guam, if there really isn't one calculated, but similar to like Honolulu, Hawaii, a living wage calculator would allow someone making $45,000, a single person, they would qualify. And so we have to be a little careful. We don't want to make it over inclusive, but we definitely don't want to deny people an attorney when they definitely cannot afford one. So we'll have a range of options at the next one. So this one will present different scales. Like New York uses a 250% of the poverty guidelines to create a presumption, and other jurisdictions use anywhere from 125% up to 250. And so we'll have those scales, and then the board can decide like where would you like the indigent of Guam to fall between.
Yeah, I think it's best if you, provide us
Like-
a suggestion together with, a survey of various jurisdictions and their guidelines, particularly any jurisdictions that might be more closely resemble the environment here. And then we can evaluate it, discuss it, and act on it. I think everyone realizes in 10 years, which it's roughly been since the guidelines have been adjusted, that there's been significant changes. So we need to look at that.
Yeah, and the current one looks to be about 190% of the poverty guidelines, and that would be easy enough to do. But if we want to really look at it, apply best practices. I mean, like New York has a 96-page booklet on, appointment of counsel for indigent clients. So there's a lot of material, and we'll submit a summary of those different jurisdictions.
Steve, do they include also the cost of inflation in
Yeah.
some of those jurisdictions?
So that's why they have made it apply to like 200% of the poverty guidelines, because the poverty guideline is, well, they don't really, it's not that, doesn't increase. Well, I guess it increases based on the inflation every year, but there's no jurisdiction that applies just the poverty guidelines. It's always like either 125% of it or up to 250. So
Okay.
and then we'll find out, we'll try to do a survey of how much private attorneys out here are charging for misdemeanors and felonies as well. So we'll give you a fuller picture.
Can you submit that by the next meeting?
Oh, yes, we'll start circulating something before then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no other questions, then we have no items under public discussion, do we? No one's
No.
here. So our next meeting will be on June 27th. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Moved by presiding judge, seconded by trustee Kanata. All those in favor?
Aye.
There being no objection, it passes. All right, thank you, everyone, and look forward to getting those revised budget submissions so we can work to get them to the legislature as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.